Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Say hello to my little friend.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
And now, live from Studio A in the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication, it's Director's Cut.
Hello and welcome to this season's final episode of Director's Cut. I'm Brian Cadena.
And I'm Jean d'Arc Sandbar. We have a great season finale tonight with an exciting theme, Marvel versus DC Comics.
We also have two fantastic directors as well throughout the season. We have met some truly talented student directors, and tonight will be no different. You will meet John Kowalczyk along with one of our producers of Director's Cut, Mr. William Meade. But first, let's take a look at some of the most recent and hottest Marvel films.
Perhaps this will be easier if you tell me what you've done.
Gotta love Marvel movies. Bright, fun, and just incredible action sequences.
Entertaining, it's the best.
That's all we're looking for, is just solid entertainment, and especially with Netflix now, I really like the dark route they're taking with it too.
Exactly, it's the best. I love it, yeah.
Well, that was all we have for Marvel, and gotta say Iron Man is truly one of the best. But now, let's take a look at our first guest director. His name is John Kowalczyk.
My name is John Kowalczyk. I'm class of 2016, and I'm a BS TV film major. I wasn't really huge into film when I was younger, but then in high school, I became a digital media major. My high school had majors, and I started getting into sound mixing and lighting for plays and concerts. I really came into my own when I started doing video production, and here I am now. My favorite genre of film would probably be like 80s action movies. I'm a big fan of Die Hard and Air Force One and Hunt for the Red October. I love the action, suspense, thriller. It's one of the most exciting forms of film there is. My favorite part of making a film is when it's finally done. I love being able at the end to see my work finally come together. When I graduate, the goal is to start doing a whole bunch of different productions. I really want to be a cinematographer in the future, and I'm planning to get there hopefully by working through lighting and camera work, and hopefully just establishing myself in the film community. And whether that takes me to New York, LA, London, Japan, anything like that, I'm willing to go anywhere for it. My favorite filmmakers would have to be John McTiernan and also probably Quentin Tarantino. They really are masters of their craft and are like household names when it comes to making these kind of movies. So hopefully I can be a household name in the future and have that kind of, draw to my movies. So my favorite movies would have to be Hunt for the Red October, Die Hard. I love Jaws. It's a great movie. And just recently I've started getting into a bit more foreign films, which, you know, can't be a film student without them. You need that kind of culture shock. 3 words that describe me. As you probably can't tell right now under these lights and cameras, I'm usually pretty relaxed and chill. So I'd have to say relaxed, chill, and then I'd have to say fairly reliable. When people need me to do something, I usually try to help them as much as I can. And, you know, if I scratch somebody's back, I usually hope that they scratch mine, and that's how you really network in this field. And that's how I got my senior film together. I had a real dedicated crew because I helped them all in the past, and they felt the need to help me. If I wasn't a filmmaker, I'd probably end up being an electrician. My dad's an electrician, and I was on that path up until I discovered filmmaking. I've done it for the last 3 summers, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's really humbled me. And honestly, it's helped my filmmaking because I noticed a lot of my scripts that I've written focus a lot on like blue-collar workers and things like that. I'd love to fly. I think it'd be the coolest thing ever. And also, I like to think it's the most obtainable because, you know, airplanes, man. That was terrible.
And now let's welcome to the show Mr. John Kowalczyk. How are you, John?
Good. Good to be on this side of the cameras for once.
Exactly. It's a change, right?
Yeah.
So this is great. So we're going to take a sneak peek at your senior thesis film, Printed in Fire.
It's him.
Just pull over. He's not gonna do anything just yet. Hey, watch it.
How's it going, Steve? Come on out here, let me look at you.
Pretty cool stuff you're making there. Now,
Thanks.
one thing we have to address right off the bat. Where was that shot, that clip?
Mahwah, New Jersey.
Bergen County. Give
Yep.
it to me. That's what I'm talking about right there. All right, now, into the film process that you have. You have shots like that. We were talking off air. A lot of the stuff that you're shooting is always outdoors, and it seems like it's always in cold weather. You don't shoot in the summer. Does that offer complications?
So this film I actually shot on top of a mountain, which made for an interesting time. Something I like to say is an adventure is something you survive to tell later. And we
Did you
Did
almost
almost-
die on
we
the
almost-
trip?
That's a
There
very
was-
survivalist way of thinking.
Yeah, my crew, I don't know how they stuck with me after the first day, after we lugged several hundred pounds of film equipment up like 45-degree hill to shoot in this little tiny cabin, but they stuck with me, and it was intense. It was cold the entire time. Half my duties as director was A, direct the talent, B, chop firewood to keep the fire in the cabin going so the crew could stay warm. So it was a really interesting film shoot in that respect.
Well, because you were talking about how you're creating this environment. You said you were chopping wood on one hand, but then on the other hand you were directing.
Yeah.
So you were creating experience and creating a movie.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the two, or are they the same?
It just adds into one big experience. I'll never forget this film shoot. I'm sure my crew will never forgive me for this film shoot. But I had a great time, and I hope my crew had a great time. It's all about, they're all my friends that were on the film shoot with me, and I've helped them in the past, and they came back and helped me. So I'm glad I have such great friends who are willing to stick with me to make, a movie. Yeah.
Now, John, when we see you around studios a lot, you're always working with the lights or a lot of the technical aspects of it. How does that translate as a director, your knowledge of the tech side when trying to tell a story with characters and dialogue and acting?
Well, what I really want to do in the future is be a director of photography. So, like, I was shooting a movie this past week with my one friend Pat Shea, who is also in senior film, and we were working on a shot list. So basically, they comes to me with a script, no real camera directions or anything. And then from there, you need to try to find the best visuals that really tell the story. And he had some ideas for like really cool shots. He wanted to have like a steady cam and everything. But you really have to ask, what's the best way to tell the story? And we found he didn't need all these crazy shots and everything. While they would look cool, they wouldn't contribute to actually telling the story. So it's always trying to find the right balance of not distracting from the story while still trying to show really cool visuals and also trying not to break the bank while you're funding your own movie. So I try to find that same balance on my own film, shooting in New Jersey, having cars, shooting on a Arri Alexa and things like that.
Well, because you said you wanted to be a DP, director of photography. Has there been any film that you've seen and the shots were in a way that you said, you know, that's what I want to do. That's why I've changed my perspective.
2 movies actually that are both my favorite movies are Leon the Professional, which was shot in New York City, which is a Jean Reno film, and also The Hunt for the Red October, which is completely on the other side of the spectrum of movies, a 1980s action thriller that was directed by John McTiernan. And both of those movies have really shown me how to really work with the space that you have, because The Professional was shot in an apartment, and Hunt for the Red October was in a set, but in a submarine, essentially. So really working with your space, working with the lighting to really like convey a sense of containment, and really trying to like, you know, do the best with what you can in that space. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on, John, and one more for Bergen County.
For
Blue laws, we've had to deal with them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and we will be right back with more Director's Cut after this break.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
Welcome back to Director's Cut. Now we are going to our correspondent, Brett Savoy, who is asking Hofstra students about the new Marvel and DC movies. However, some, if not all, of these questions may not be factually right. Let's take a look.
Hey there, Jean d'Arc and Brian. I'm here outside of CV Star, and we're going to ask Hofstra students about what they think of the new DC and Marvel movies. Are you excited for the new Batman vs. Iron Man movie?
Yes, I am. I am very excited. Super. Yeah, that will be the best combination, Batman versus Iron Man.
I think that Iron Man still has an advantage because of his suit. I know they're both millionaires, but I think that Iron Man has the advantage.
How do you feel about them changing Batman to be played by Meryl Streep?
No way. I don't even like Ben Affleck.
She's a great actress, and I feel like she'd do a lot better than Christian Bale.
It's a strong choice, but Meryl's pretty good, and you know she's done weirder roles before, so I'm interested to see how she does it. But I'm excited.
It'd be a bad decision because I don't know if we want to have her playing Batman.
Who would win in a fight? Donald Trump, Mr. Clean, or the Green Giant?
Donald Trump.
I would say Mr. Clean. You know, he looks pretty tough. Kind of like Vin Diesel.
Donald Trump. He controls the media. That's everything.
Donald Trump.
Why?
It's Donald Trump.
Mr. Clean, because did you see how jacked he is on the box set? And he has all these cleaning products. Maybe he could like poison somebody.
Mr. Clean. Probably the Green Giant, although Trump is very strong-minded, but...
The Green Giant.
Donald Trump, just because he would say something and then they would just, you know, leave, because why would they stick around for Donald Trump?
Since Disney owns Marvel Comics, are you excited for Mickey Mouse to be in the next Avengers movie?
I think it's great they're incorporating some of the original characters. I think it's going to be really fun.
I think that the powers that Disney gives to him would be very interesting. I'm kind of excited to see that.
What do you consider a balanced breakfast for a superhero?
The flesh of his defeated enemies.
Do you think that Ryan Reynolds should ever play the Green Lantern?
No.
Nah, he should stick to Captain America.
Nope.
Why not?
He should stick with whatever Deadpool it is.
Ooh, yes.
Why?
He's a very good actor.
He already did. All right, first person to answer that question correctly.
And they say we don't have true journalists in the media anymore.
Exactly. And now let's...
I didn't think it was that funny, but okay, it worked
I don't
well
know
with
why it was funny, but it is. It doesn't matter. But now let's meet our second guest, one of the producers of Director's Cut for this season, William Meade.
My name is William Meade, and I am a senior, and I'm currently majoring in television and film production. I guess you could say what inspired me to get into film was picking up the camera when I was little, and I just was always fascinated by that. So I started my own YouTube channel when I was like 12, messing around with it at a young age, and just the love for it grew since then. My favorite genre of film would have to be dark comedy, because I like the idea of someone taking a really serious situation and getting someone who is a serious person to end up laughing. Some of the filmmakers that inspire me, one of them is Quentin Tarantino, just because of his image and how he can create a style and a tone and a mood so quickly, and you can identify with that so fast. Another one of my favorites is Woody Allen. Comedic timing is his writing, his even himself in his films. They always get me laughing, and it's just that kind of comedy that I really love. So, some of my favorite films, I mean, I always answer this. I say it's Happy Gilmore. It's one of those films that really hits home for me, and I love watching it. There will never be a time where I watch it and not find something new that I like about it, or just really enjoy myself. My favorite part of filmmaking is right smack in the middle of production, because I feel like that is the point where everybody starts to lose their hair. It starts to come down to who is really here to get this done. What I want to do when I graduate, I'm not entirely sure. I'll possibly look to outlets in New York, because I'm also a television major, and I think that TV is growing rapidly in New York. One thing I'd say that doesn't involve film about me is the fact that I was born with 6 fingers. I don't have them now, but I did have a finger growing out of my pinky on both. If I wasn't a filmmaker, I think I'd end up opening my own small business, maybe particularly coffee. I love coffee. I have coffee all the time. I should probably have way less than I do, but I feel that owning a business of my own, something I can walk into every day and know that it's mine. If I had a superpower, it would probably have to be time travel, and I think that's because when I'm living my life and I go home after the day or whatever, I can always think about things that, hey, if I could rewind back to when I said that thing to that person, or if I can rewind back to that answer I put on that test or something like that.
And now we welcome the man in question right here, our boss, Mr. William Meade. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, no problem.
I hope you can. You're our boss of our show. So
Yeah,
it should be an easy walk.
We're glad you had
here.
availability.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Well, before we get to talking to Will, let's take a look at his senior thesis clip. This is a clip from Family Incorporated.
Okay. Something's happened.
Yeah?
What? Your mother died.
Mommy! Will you keep it down? The price is right on. You know that. God.
How?
She was old.
Old? Wasn't she in her 60s?
She was. About 15 years ago.
When's the funeral?
The funeral's done.
What?
It's done. We had the funeral the other day.
Wait, we?
Susan Beckman and...
Susan Beckman, that guy?
Hey, say what you want about him, Brad, but Susan was there, especially when I needed help moving your mother's poor, lifeless body.
Dad, stop it! I can't believe you had the funeral without me.
What was I gonna do? Your mother died.
You could have called me first.
Look, it doesn't matter. Now listen, Jacob, need for you boys to come over.
There it is, Family Incorporated. Beautiful looking film, Will, gotta say.
Thanks so much.
The red 4K? Red
yes,
4K?
We shot on the Red Dragon. It's capable of up to 6K, which I feel is kind of unnecessary, but yeah, 4K, yeah, it's the way to go.
Now, I want to get this question out of the way right now because you're a drummer, I'm a drummer, we've both talked about music a lot. When you're making your film and when you're editing the film, how important is rhythm to you? And how important are you applying that musicality that you've learned from playing percussion and drums all of these years to the filmmaking process?
That's such a great question, and you know what? It actually has more to do with each other than you think, especially with comedy. Comedy, you need rhythm in order to be funny. You need to know when to deliver, right? And just like as you're playing drums, right, you need to know when it's appropriate and tasteful to play a fill. There are a lot of drummers that get out there and they have double bass pedals and they have like the million drums around them and they're just going crazy, right? But if it's not within the taste of the song, and it's not going to work. So it's the same thing with comedy. If you are just joke after joke after joke, and you don't have the right timing and not the right taste and not the right feel, it's really not going to work. So the same rhythm, it really does apply. Even timing too. Timing is the same thing with different tempos and things like that. You definitely, so totally.
Because you were saying with comedy, and I would say that comedy is much more difficult than drama in some senses. What's the difference for you directing when it comes to comedy versus doing drama?
Well, it's funny, the reason I fell in love with the script so much is because it's kind of both. I have a little bit of drama in there, and I have a dramatic situation about like this, a mother passing away. It's a very dramatic situation, but then I throw a little bit of comedy at it, which really, now you need a whole new timing. You need the timing to establish the dark aspect of it and the drama aspect, and then you need the timing just when to bring in that comedic point so people are like, why am I laughing right now? This is not funny. So there definitely is a difference. Dramas are easy, I think, because they relate so much to people that work in this industry. You can make a sad drama in about 5 minutes just by doing a life story. As far as being a film or television major here, it's the same thing. You just basically record yourself. But as far as a comedy is concerned, it's really all about fresh and new ideas and things like that. A lot of dramas have been done. A lot of dramatic stories have been told. Comedic stories, I feel like there's always a new joke that you could come up with. There's not every joke has been said yet. Every sad story has been said because there's quite a few, but at the same time, not every joke has been said yet. So I kind of live by that.
So drama stories are overdone in a sense, whereas it's easier to reinvent yourself if you're doing comedy.
Exactly. So with a comedic thing, you can have a look on the world that's just different. With the drama situation, you can have a look on a dramatic situation, but no matter what, it's going to be sad. If you have a look on something that's comedic, with certain people that like I take a lot after like Larry David and Seinfeld and that kind of dry humor, Christopher Guest, things like that, and those guys are of a specific breed of like comedic genius, kind of. I think personally.
I would say so too. Yeah.
Right, they have their own taste and they have their own timing and everything like that. So I think for me, coming up with my own kind of timing, coming up with my own story. The reason I wanted to make a dark comedy is because I think the mix you can have there is just so fascinating and just how you can get people to laugh at things that really aren't funny.
Can you talk about genre bending a little bit? Because it sounds like this is where the film industry is starting to head to. We see it a lot with television, having these anti-heroes and these dark comedies. We're hearing dramedy is a term more used. How do you see that, not just in your film, but in the future of film, people trying to blend those dramatic stories with some comedic elements and maybe a taste of action or some gory violence? What do you see the future holding?
Well, the thing is, it's hard to get an audience without chopping somebody's head off. It's hard to get an audience without making somebody, bust a gut laughing or something like that. Like it's really tough. So I think the industry is starting to find this place because of the way our society has kind of grown, right? So you have like 70s film, 80s film, 90s film. They all have these certain like themes and tones going on because of the times, right? And the times now are so weird because you have people that can't communicate with each other anymore. It's like social media, everything. You have like all these different outlets of communication. So the times have changed, and you can. So now with the changing times in society, you can actually build comedy off of society instead. You know what I'm saying? So it will be fresh and things like that. So I think that's why the industry is heading in that direction because it's kind of becoming a new thing now.
Well, because you were saying that like Larry David was kind of, it's I guess it's an inspiration for you, but how do you find your own comedic, way? But because you want to be William Meade, you don't want to be Larry David, you want to be your own person. So how do you find William Meade's comedic timing?
And it's tough. I will say it's tough, but I would say the way to find it is really when you're walking through your daily life and you see things that happen, certain things that go on, right? You think certain things about them and you're like, I'm probably the only person in the world that thinks A, B, or C about this certain situation. Like that guy right there who's holding that cup of coffee, like, I know he's a jerk. And I'm just looking at it by his face, I can see his face and I just know he's a jerk.
That's
it's
because
like,
you're a pessimistic Islanders fan, though.
Okay, well, now we're going to start getting into sports. I don't know, but exactly. So, like, I have my own way of looking at him. I'm like, what are these calculations going on in my head to know that that guy's a jerk? And then I take it, I write it down, and I start writing down, like, well, he's a jerk because he's looking this way, he's holding it this way. People that hold their cups of coffee that way, don't they just piss you off? Like, things like that. And all of a sudden, comedy starts, like, coming in. So I think you can definitely just take daily life experiences and make things with that. So
pretty darn cool. Well, thank you for being such a fantastic boss and for coming on the program.
Oh, of course.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
I feel he did you, so I'm going to do this.
Oh, all right.
Because I'm going to be different.
The fist bump, I like that.
I'm going to be different.
That's what we're trying to do, genre bending a little bit.
Exactly. So
well,
now,
I'd like to thank you so much, Will, for coming on the program. And now it is time to watch another mashup.
Another mashup, there we go, of past and present films from the DC universe.
Feeling of powerlessness that turns good men cruel.
DC films. I think they could be really awesome. I don't think they're there yet. I'm a diehard Green Lantern fan, so I just want to see that movie come out.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's the thing, is just finding that they found the Marvel audience. They have to find the DC audience a little bit more, so.
Hopefully, we'll have to see for the future. That's all the time we have for you tonight. We would like to thank our guests, John Kowalczyk and, of course, William Meade. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at DirectorsCutHU. And we also want to thank our two producers of this past year. We will miss you, Sarah Walk, and, of course, Mr. Will Meade. Thank you for all the hard work you've put into the show this season.
And we had a great time meeting so many talented directors this season, along with celebrating a number of amazing films and genres. And until next time, I'm Jean d'Arc Sambar.
It's been a pleasure working with you. I'm Brian Cadena. Have a good night, everybody. See you next year.
Woo!